moment. First of all, I just want to say, amazing. You guys have been, give yourselves a round of applause. It's so great. It's been such an incredible experience walking around seeing you guys working for the past 3 days. For those of you that are new, that haven't been here, we have come from Google and Salesforce, no longer mainframe anymore. We've come from the States and from Europe and other different countries. We've been here for a week since Monday. And we've been learning about the refugee crisis, we've been learning about different non-profits, how they're involved in the refugee crisis, their work, and we've come to try and make a change and to fix and help some of the barriers that these non-profits are facing. So, we're not going to talk much at all, this is all you guys' time, but just quickly, we wanted to thank our Hackathon partners again. The Smile of the Child has been amazing and vital in putting on this hackathon. We're also so grateful to the Orange Grove who have been in this, massively amazing space. And then again, the Smile of the Child, doyourpart.org and Solomon, we're so grateful. The groups have been working very closely with you guys, and I'm sure that it's not been easy sometimes, all the questions and showing up to your places of work and getting you on the phone. Thank you so much for bearing with us and really facilitating this experience. We could not have done this without you guys letting us in. So, presentations.
Cool. And begin. Hi everybody, we are Elephant in the Room. As you can tell, we are working with the Solomon. So first I want to say that myself, David, Nikki, no one else, there's no one else on our team. We were really drawn to Solomon when we first saw them present on Thursday, and we really thought they had a strong message and we wanted to be a part of it. When we actually got to know the team a little bit better, we really got to hear the heart of Solomon and really what they're all about. This is not just another magazine with amazing content and amazing photos. Obviously, we do have those. But this is really a platform for social conversation and social integration for Greeks, for refugees, for immigrants, for all alike. It is a place to let different opinions and perspectives all come together for one single cause, and that is to have a good society. We all know from our time just in Greece, and many of the Greeks in the room, that the topic of integration is not always easy. Has not been in the past, but it is a necessary topic, and while it may not always change naturally, it is necessary to happen, and Solomon is really a part of that change. So the idea of this site and what they're trying to do is not something that's existed before, but it does now. So our goal as a team, you can see here, we'll get more into the fun later, but is to be a continued resource to help facilitate, create, and implement a long-term business strategy with the goal of making Solomon a sustainable business. So just to cue up what we're going to talk about in the presentation is just how we got there, so how we got to that goal as a team, what we achieved, so we'll go over a lot of what you probably saw over the couches here yesterday, and our next steps, which are going to be really important for us because that's really where we're going to make a lot of the huge impact for Solomon and the elephant in the room.
So how we got there, everybody was there on Thursday and heard the overview. So what we did from there is deep dive with the team a little bit more to get a really good understanding of where they were and how we could best help. And what we heard from each individual that we spoke with, and you all heard on Thursday, is that there are so many individual amazing stories about why Solomon is so important, not only to these individuals, but also to the Greek society overall. What we heard between a lot of those were similarities. There were themes and just stories that tied between them. So where we saw what an opportunity that we could work is to help pull out those commonalities and be able to amplify that passion. So for example, when Solomon reaches out to get grants or partners with other companies, they can very clearly talk about why they're doing what they're doing and why Solomon is so important to the Greek culture. So what we did was created a framework to do the session we had yesterday. You saw all of the fabulous team here that we worked with. Go to the next one. And so as we said, the goal was to formalize and verbalize all this passion that we heard. So this was actually something that we do pretty often at Google with teams to help them formalize what is our team mission, what is our team purpose, why are we here, to help guide the team. So we ran through that yesterday to get to these points here.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about the opportunities that we have moving forward. As a team, as Nikki was articulating, it's really important for Solomon to be able to talk to the press and talk to their new readers and talk to different foundations to be able to grow, both from a monetization perspective and from a user perspective. So we really jotted down around 5 different vision statements and 5 different mission statements that Solomon can then take as a team and continue to work on so that they can have one consistent way to articulate to different stakeholders what they do. Hearing firsthand about somebody from Afghanistan who has a passion for photography that has now an outlet for that, it's very hard to communicate that in a way that it really shows what we saw here, and we really wanted to help convey that message. So what we have moving forward is, again, just a review of the importance of going through their vision and their mission, and then 2 different sheets for some examples. And then from a strategy and growth standpoint, we actually went into this thinking that we would spend more time on Google Analytics and how to grow their users and how to analyze things, but we actually took this step back, and we have a plan for continuing to work with the organization to use the different expertise that we have to partner together so that they can grow.
Okay, so the last part here, as I mentioned, which is really important, is the next steps, and actionable next steps. We have broken this out kind of in a short and long term, but really this is just a way for us to keep on track and keep the promises that we make to each other in terms of working together and providing these resources. So just to give you an example of some of the short-term steps that we discussed was setting up a meeting in late October, and maybe your guys' buy-in later, so I think you saw it. But around, say, October 20th, and putting that on calendar, making sure that we have something concrete and a communication plan so we can discuss the mission statements and finalize that kind of one-sheeter that we had showed the draft of before. Talking about future communication, understanding who in Solomon is interested in talking more about marketing and communications, who's more interested in looking at the funding or monetization side, so that we can better align our skill sets and have those breakout sessions so that we can provide that kind of consultation. Also really exciting is we know that Founders, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, is going to Berlin in November to apply for a grant. And I was lying before, we have 2 more members. You guys remember York, who is from Germany, and he is offering to provide some pitch preparation and actually be with them there on the day, which is really exciting and probably our most exciting short-term step for now. And then, kind of aligning for what we said, the future communication, talking about content strategy, marketing, and kind of more about bringing the message out there and getting more users and more readers involved. So we're really excited about this, and we want to see if you guys have any questions.
Can the next group come up? Any questions for anyone in the room? Easy, that's
Right.
easy. Phil has a question in the back.
Phil has a question.
So the grants in Germany is really exciting. Did you talk about any plans on what that money might be used for? Any specific focus in the next few months?
So not yet. We actually are waiting for a bit more clarification on even the logistics of the grant itself. What are the requirements? What Venice needs to present? A lot of that is probably going to be next steps, I would say even for next week. He's leaving on Wednesday, I believe. Yep. So connecting New York and the rest of the team. So that's definitely a good question and something that we will be putting together and would be happy to provide as follow-ups to everyone else.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, everyone.
Super. So I'm Heather. This is Mushtaba, Shavid, Bill, and we also have Shafiq, who is with us and is partnering on our team, and our team is Child's Play. We are here to support Smile of the Child and their efforts for creating awareness and engagement for their services in support of refugees as well as all children. And what we wanted to do was obviously support the campaigns that they already have in place in refugee camps. They have posters, they have flyers, they've translated them into many languages. They have a holistic care program. But what we wanted to consider it of is the needs of refugees. And if we can go to the next slide, I'll just share some of the considerations that we've made. And that is that refugees don't necessarily have online access all the time. So what we were thinking of is creating an app. So while for the general population, it can be, it was a free 24-hour call to the Smile of the Child in order to get access to their services, which is fantastic. For those that don't necessarily have Wi-Fi, or for those that don't have the right language skills being they're Arabic or Farsi speaking. For the Smile of the Child, they're relatively limited because they're working with volunteers, and it's not necessarily possible 24 hours a day to have a volunteer in the right language available to provide that help. So that's really what we're trying to address here. So as a team, our objective is to create an app that folks can reference whether they're online or offline. If they're offline, at least they know. They can download the app, they'll have it on their phone wherever they go, because these folks, they're moving around, but they just about always have their mobile phone with them. So they can easily pull up the app, they can get the info so that they can get to a phone, or if they can use if the phone is usable, they can make that call, and Bill will walk us through that, or they can make a contact to the organization another way through the app, which is pretty cool. So another consideration that we have is we want the calls to have the contacts to have the opportunity to be anonymous. So that's something that this app would provide. Also, what we were looking at is, while the Smile of the Child has, I believe, 5 different languages that their translators can provide, and looking at the refugee population in Greece, just about 90% of them speak either Farsi or Arabic. So just looking at that, if we can have an app in Arabic and Farsi, we're hitting about 90% of the population. So just thinking from that perspective, an app in Arabic and Farsi would probably be a pretty big win. So next slide. And this shows the breakout by population here and kind of how we've broken it out. The next steps here are Bill will walk through what our app design will actually look like. But as we were going through this process and having these conversations, Mustafa was having these really fantastic ideas about, refugees in Greece, for example. When people arrive, they have instant needs. Where are camps? Where are medical services? Where are legal services? And there's different needs according to different populations. There's different needs for families, for children, for men. And so we're also going to build out a more comprehensive app that will address these individual needs, that will have basic information in an app. We'll also build out a website that will contain a forum where there will be more opportunities for discussion, because information changes frequently about apps, and where there can be additional openings, accommodation for refugees and those populations. But again, in doing that bigger app, there's still that opportunity to plug in the Smile of the Child as a service for the children. So I think we're looking at multiple channels for people to become aware and engage with the Smile of the Child. So in terms of the immediate need of getting the Smile of the Child accessible to the refugees, Bill will actually walk us through how that app can be developed.
Thanks, Heather. So what we have here, I put together a couple of wireframes for those folks who are looking at this here. The wireframes for the app, these are really some of our ideas. I think the main point or the main focus for our team was to keep things simple. We had to look at maybe some other apps that are out there right now, and I think that one of the challenges that some of those apps face is that they're a little too complicated. So really the whole point here was to make sure that we could address one main thing, and so that the refugees could actually access the Smile of the Child a little easier. So we see here, the first screen here, we have two options, Arabic or Farsi. This is the first step where we determine exactly what type of language needs to be interpreted in the contact. We also have abuse, neglect support, missing and exploited children, medical assistance, and then we also want to include some about and FAQs there. Once you choose either one of these options, you would be directed to the input page. So you would submit some basic information about your case, your name, your child's name, your contact information. Is the child in immediate danger? And then there is some confidentiality pieces here, just so that we could really drive the message that your call would be private. Okay. Just some simple things here. You'll see a successful submission or an error submission. And then in the error submission, we drive the 1056 number, which is the SOS line. And so you could go either way there. I know we're running out of time here. Oh. Well, but this is not working well.
All right, that was amazing. Questions, Sarah?
What are your next steps?
Great. What's the question? Thank you, Sarah.
And so next steps, we want to make sure that we can have some proper conversations with the Smile of the Child so that we can really take a look at, we're looking at here, how we're actually going to notify you. The whole point of this is for you to submit, for a refugee to submit a request to be contacted. So we want to work out more of the logistics with SMS and email, which is how we would alert you.
And then a translator can, instead of having that immediate response of a refugee being on the phone, waiting 45 minutes for a translator volunteer to show up, the Smile of the Child can actually respond much quicker.
Thanks, Sarah. Bill?
Great presentation, by the way. I noticed on one of the slides you gave the option for anonymous call. Just wondered what the sort of the reasoning behind that, what the full process was for giving that option.
Sure. So just to clarify, the option that we're giving here is keeping it confidential. It's not really an option necessarily, it's more just driving that message to make sure that we can keep that trust with the refugees.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you all.
I think we can get started. Yeah. All right, great. So this is we are Team Do Your Part. And this is our presentation. This is us doing our part. And we're going to get into a second here what we mean by preparing for your future. But what we started by doing, we're going to take you guys through our journey a little bit to help you guys understand kind of our choice points and where we landed. But we really started by reanalyzing the barriers. I know we had these up earlier. We all had consensus on what these barriers are. The first is really Lisa's request, and it's all about reducing the hours she's spending on producing these food cards for the camps. The second is really, based on our conversations here, really trying to address a way for residents of the camps or other displaced individuals to launch themselves into the West, right? Creating profiles, becoming a little bit more marketable in the West. And of course, I think this final goal here is the ultimate goal, which is to help individuals identify employment opportunities, right? So what we did is we realized that we really needed to reassess or pressure test our assumptions a little bit more deeply. And what we did is we conducted some informational interviews. Thank you for everybody for spending the last couple of days with us. We're really able to suss out and filter out some important obstacles that perhaps were a little unforeseen. And I think everybody knows these at this point from a systemic perspective, and we know that those are quite out of our control. So our focus really is at least some of these obstacles that we feel are addressable. And I'll just recap them very quickly, and this is just based on the conversations with Jawid and Mujtaba and Sharuk. Great deal of language barriers that really are going to be important to solve for before you can even think about employment opportunities. Some basic tech skills, I think we take our skills for granted, and most children born today are growing up in a world where they don't live without a laptop. They don't even know what it's like not to have a cell phone. And of course, a lot of people, a lot of individuals who have been displaced think of Greece as a temporary stopping spot. All right, so we've decided that our main focus points are going to be the resident database, which really is all about creating some efficiencies for Lisa, and of course the second point here, which is all about, and it started out as skills tracking. Everybody will remember we talked about that, but for us it's become sort of something a little bigger than that, a little broader. The tracking of the skills was really just the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg here, and it's really about creating a more comprehensive training program that will really allow individuals who have been displaced from their homes to prepare themselves for moving into the West. So we'll start with kind of just giving you guys a very, very quick explanation as to why. I think self-evident, the first one, Lisa's primary request creates immediate efficiencies, and it's a super quick win for us. Brian and I live and breathe data sets all day long, so that was a quick win for us. This second one is something that's really close to our hearts, and I think I mentioned a few seconds ago that it's really necessary to solve this barrier, in large part before you can even begin to think about employment opportunities, right? So we've got to deal with the language barriers, we've got to deal with the low skill sets before you can even think about those employment opportunities. We think that it's near term, and there's an ability here for us to work with our broader individual networks to really enhance and continue to build on something like this. So we really think it's realistic, feasible, and impactful. I'll just talk very, very quickly about Lisa's data set. Our solution here was not to create anything outside of Lisa's comfort zone. We had some time with her. She was fairly clear that this has got to be absolutely usable for her, and we got a sense for what she can do. So we essentially cleaned and streamlined her spreadsheet, and we automated the weekly process for food card production. Right, so she prints these out on a weekly basis and spends hours and hours and hours filling them out and cutting them up. So what you guys will see here on the left-hand side, there's just a quick screenshot of the cleaned and streamlined spreadsheet, and then the printing process, push of a button now, she's able to print these out containing the information that they previously wrote up. Anybody who's interested, we can talk you guys through that a little bit later and offline. In terms of the skill sets, I'll say something really quick before diving into the actual solution, and I'll touch just on Lefteris and I's own experiences. So obviously, English is my first language. I speak other languages too, and Lefteris is bilingual as well. We are immigrants. I've immigrated twice, Canada and then the U.S. And even for me and for Lefteris, navigating these new systems and gaining the skill sets that we needed to survive in these new systems was really quite difficult. I wish I had a how-to for navigating those systems and the hundreds of resources that are out there. We didn't know what to do. My parents didn't know what to do. So essentially, ours is about producing that toolkit that is meant to prepare you for your future and help you navigate. So as we said, lots and lots of information out there. All right, I took up a lot of time very quickly. We've created a framework for what we think the toolkit is, and I think pretty self-evident what we want to address first, language, then tech skills. I want to just underscore it's volunteer work. We were able to find resources out there all about the work, rather than just volunteering, and that teams need education.
All right, so I have 25 seconds. So language, tech skills, volunteer, continued education, and marketability, which is really about telling your professional story. We did uncover some really great resources, such as this online organization, Chiron.org, which I'm happy to answer questions about afterwards. It's an online university developed specifically for refugees. There's 1,500 enrollees today, as well as some other online resources to help you learn a language that you may not be well versed in. Questions?
What are your guys' next steps?
Next steps. Great questions, Andy. Thanks.
But we have a slide for it.
Yeah.
So we started creating like a very simple website initially to gather all this information, because as we mentioned, they are scattered all over the internet, and most of them came out from discussions we had with individuals. So we are continuing to build the partnerships and spread the word about this toolkit. So we are going to touch base with Melissa, we're going to touch base with Generation 2.0, so they can actually start bringing their volunteers into this framework. And then we want to test launch this toolkit, probably in the Innofit account first, so we can see how the residents there actually use it and what, if they actually find it useful. And hopefully the first batch of them will be the trainers for the next batch of volunteers. Yes.
So there's obviously a lot of resources out there. I mean, just reading all the names of Khan Academy and Idealist and all these different things.
Yeah.
Do you plan on just having a platform to expose refugees to these resources? Do you
Yeah.
actually want to vet the quality of the resources for which ones would be best fit for refugees?
First step is to vet them. For example, York suggested this Chiron resource, which is amazing because the university is just for refugees. So we want to see what's available and more appropriate to their skills before we can actually put it in there.
And we did, Lofaria's built an online portal / website that captures all this information. We just didn't get to show it to you.
You could keep it.
Do you have an estimate for the time reduction that Lisa will have with this new solution?
So she spends about 5-6 hours a week. It'll be less than an hour now.
Because of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Less than 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Of that steps A, B, and C, we were kind of that third portion. So while they focused a lot on the training opportunities, we're thinking a lot about actual employment opportunities in the near term. Do you mind clicking right there? There's something else. Just a moment. Perfect. All right. So this is our full team. Nick unfortunately had to leave early, but we wanted to show the third part of our team just to make sure that you knew that we were bigger than just this team of 2. So wanted to start off, these are numbers that we all know. We've heard that there are obviously many people that have been passing through or displaced in Greece. Just to give you a sense of what 60,000 actually means, that's actually the capacity, oddly enough, of the Panathenaic Stadium. So imagining that stadium completely full of people is the number of refugees that are currently stranded in Greece in this most recent wave. But I think what we've heard and what we felt time and time again in all of these conversations and all of our visits to Innofita and all of our conversations with Smile the Child is that this is so much more than just these big masses of numbers. These are individuals that have unique stories, unique skills, and we really wanted to make sure that we were thinking about that and celebrating that in our solution. This is one that really stood out to me. This was a gentleman that we met in Innofita, and he just had the most beautiful entryway to his tent, and there was just so much pride in the way that he presented this entryway, and so it was just something that stuck out. So we're gonna, for the next 5 minutes, be maybe throwing around some like business speak about scaling impact, but I wanted you to know that we really are thinking about this as something that affects individuals and not just swaths of people at once. So this is all set in the context of the high unemployment. We know that unemployment is 23.4% in Greece right now, and it's leaving many migrants and refugees unemployed, underemployed, or subject to exploitative working conditions. We've heard many stories in a lot of our conversations. This is a quote from an article that we read, just about the desire to work, the desire to begin putting their skills to use, to really begin building a new life here with dignity. So our goal is to develop a sustainable stream of living wage, low-skill employment for refugees and migrants, taking advantage of microtasking platforms. I wanted to call out that we mentioned low skill, and that's because we hope that by having this be slightly lower barriers to entry in terms of training, we can reach more people at once in the short term.
So what are microtasks? So basically, they're small jobs on the order of seconds that people do online, and these are things that usually need to be done by a person specifically. They can't be automated by a machine. And they're generally used to collect training data for machine learning algorithms or for data correction and curation. So here's some examples. Generally the examples are like yes or no questions, multiple choice questions, or image labeling. In this example, the worker's supposed to click on the images that have certain attributes. Here, the worker's identifying the object in the box, in this case, a school bus from a list of options. Here, it's just stating a preference, which place looks better maintained. And so these are kind of the examples that are floating around. So what are the advantages of microtasks? Firstly, there's usually no specific skills or training required, and that's kind of the low barrier what we're focusing on. You can do the work from anywhere, including mobile devices, and this is a very rapidly growing field because everybody that's getting into machine learning, all the big players, and they all need a lot of training data. There's a lot of existing crowdsourcing platforms. Mechanical Turk's the most well-known one probably, but a lot of these companies like Google have their own internal platforms as well, and there's a number of existing online ones as well. So I'm going to say our plan, kind of in the long term, our vision is to create an organization focused on microtasking that would employ thousands, tens of thousands of migrants and refugees all around the world. We think that in the short term, the best way forward is to partner with Google specifically and use their existing infrastructure and source of tasks. And it would align with their goals of supporting refugees and demonstrating economic impact and so forth. So I think it aligns with their message and leverages existing technology. So our plan is that within a year, we would open a facility, a computer lab basically in Athens to employ refugees and migrants.
So how would we do this? So there's 3 key work streams that we're going to begin working on as soon as we get back to San Francisco and London for MIC. So first is refugee onboarding, second is building or determining the right technology platform, and then third is just the operations and infrastructure of actually making this happen. So from an onboarding perspective, we've spoke to Generation 2.0 in a couple of conversations. Organizations like them could be a really great partner in terms of their career counseling to help bring more refugees or onboard refugees into this program. We can involve camp directors, and obviously we need a way to validate the legal working status of everybody that would apply to this. Technology-wise, Misha and his team will look into whether it can be a mobile platform, how to choose appropriate tasks, localization of questions. From an operations and infrastructure point of view, there's lots and lots of things we need to do. What's the most viable operating model for this? How can we get vendors responsible for hiring, payment in Greece, quality control, training, the facility? So obviously a lot of questions unanswered, but something that we're excited to tackle and optimistic about. And looking ahead, we also think there's an opportunity to expand this into from higher skill levels by actually having trainings within the platform itself. So as you complete trainings, you can do slightly more advanced tasks so that you can also grow your skills as you're using this platform. So in the last couple seconds, we had a quick demo with Shafiq or David, I don't know which name you prefer, and he used the tool for 20 minutes and gave us a little his thoughts on the platform, and I think it really helped us validate that what we learned about people being subject to being taken advantage of in this current environment, and this being a way for people to earn an honest living in the short term and begin to pull themselves up to their bootstraps. Oh, yes, there you go. That's the timeline. Finish the Do you have any questions? Yeah, any questions? Or if you want to talk to us afterwards too about how we want to make this real, like, would love to talk to you guys.
What is the plan for actually want to pay these people? Because it's very complicated from the grid standpoint.
Yes, totally. So the question was, what's our plan for paying these people? So we have heard that you can actually get paid or create a banking account if your employer opens it for you. So the hope would be that upon being hired into this program, you would actually have a bank account opened by the employer, which would be the vendor that would operate between Google and workers. We thought about like prepaid cards and things like that, but it really seems like the bank account route would make more sense.
Could you just talk about the technology beneath this? So this is an existing platform.
Yeah, so Google has an existing crowdsourcing platform, and it just basically serves micro tasks to operators. There's already an existing model of external workers working in this. Currently it's an internal tool, but there are external workers working in it as well. So there's already, and Google has a model of hiring vendors that manage workers to do tasks through this system. But did you want to know specifically, like technologically? It's just an online platform basically. And there's also a mobile app.
So that same platform, that same instance of the platform will be extended?
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's literally just a website you go to and you start answering questions. It's very low barrier.
Any other questions? Cool.
Thanks, guys.
All right, I think we're ready. All right, it is my pleasure to introduce you Team Pi Data Mappa. We had the honor of working with the Smile of the Child in the last week, and specifically the hotline team. Over the last couple of days, we peppered them with questions, we forced them to let us come to their premise and shadow their workflows. And the reason we did that is that it really surfaced to us where their pain points were and where their opportunities were. And out of that was born 2 separate solutions that I'm super excited to take you through. So in the next 7-minute breakdown, we're going to take you through the barriers and current roadblocks that we discovered, the solutions, spoiler, they are called Dear Diary and Data Depot, the future state, the continued barriers that we know that we need to continue to work through, and then finally our timeline. And with that, I will turn it over to Diana to introduce you to our first barrier.
Okay, so the current state for the hotline team, they have this added task at the end of every shift where they have to fill out a diary, which is a paper handwritten form, and that actually adds a lot of time because this is a form that includes data about files to reference, calls to action for the next shift, and even actions that occur during the day that the next shift may need to know about. So we wanted to make something to make that a lot easier to work with. And our solution is Dear Diary, and this is a digitized Excel sheet, and basically this is going to live on their shared network. That way everyone can access this at once, rather than waiting in line to sort through a stack of papers. So we think that's going to help out a lot. And how about we just show it? Let's go. Okay, so this is Dear Diary, and it has a lot of the same fields that the paper form included, but we've added 2 really important things that are going to save a lot of time for the hotline team. One would be we have ability to hyperlink. So rather than having it written on a form, go to this file and this folder, and have someone spending all this time looking through different folders, we're now hyperlinking that actual form so that the next shift person can just click on it and open the file. We also have conditioning formatting for the status. That way, when someone comes back from being off or being on holiday, they can easily look through the list and prioritize what they need to take care of next. Along with this, we've compiled a workflow process document, and this has information about every step of the process. And Sia, thank you for helping us out last night. We actually tried this out last night, and it was very successful. So we're going to be able to provide that, and this will allow her team to better utilize the process, be able to visualize the whole process, and it'll make onboarding new employees a lot easier.
Awesome, thank you. So the second issue Skip that screen. But basically, the second issue that the operators have is that the data is scattered everywhere throughout their shared server. So if somebody is calling in and they need to find information about this repeat caller, currently what they do is they go down a file system of 6, 7 folders, pull up the main form. Then they open up 5, 6, 7 different Excel windows and do control find on each of these to see if a row exists for that person's name. So this process is tedious, and as you can imagine, for people calling over and over, this can take up a lot of time. So we brainstormed a couple of solutions. We were limited by the fact that they were running Internet Explorer 6. So we couldn't be as creative with the libraries, but we created a search engine. Hopefully this comes up. Sorry, she insists on us showing it. We created a search engine that basically goes in and indexes their entire shared server, and then if you type in somebody's name, for example, ASWIN, and hit search, it brings up all of the files that have their name and a direct link to open all of them. So this way, instead of going through and doing what they normally do now, like in a half a millisecond, or it just shows up and they know exactly where to go. The way that this works, to kind of simplify it a little bit, is if I handed you a dictionary and I asked you to find the word orange. Like most people would maybe open the book in half and then see that they're on M, so they'll flip a few pages and keep doing this until they find it. The way that this works is the dictionary, you flip to the back end where you find the index and you find the page number for orange. So it goes directly to the page. So basically our system goes and puts page numbers next to each person's name. So in this case, these 5 documents correlate to my name. And because we do it that way, it makes it very quick and you can return results super quickly. So we plan on going to the Smile of a Child offices later today to set this up. We were there last night and kind of begun the process, but we hope to finish it later today.
Okay, so the future state. So as Ashwin mentioned, we were at Smile of the Child last night and began the process of implementing this, and we will finish it tonight. Future state is that we need to deploy it across all of the centers in Greece. In addition to that, we are aware that Smile of the Child has many amazing teams that work within it that face a similar challenge, and so we will then incorporate their teams into this solution. In addition to that, we also know that you guys share a lot of information between each other, and so the next goal is to create user profiles with permissions that enable you to share information between each other, but only hide information that is not relevant to you to protect that person. So a few of the barriers really quickly is, again, IE6. That's a tough one. It's an old server, and it does limit some of the foxy things we'd like to do, but we're still going to make you guys super functional and operationally efficient. One of the things we didn't mention is written updates. So in addition to all the digital forms that live on their servers, there is handwritten information. And so we're going to work through a migrating system to get all of that information digitized so that we live in one place. And then a lack of written process and workflow documentation is what we need to work through as well. So the timeline, by the end of today, we will have implemented the finalized digitized diary, the workflow and process training content, which again we have tested and proven to be successful, and then the data depot will be deployed at the hotline hub. Last but not least, I just want to say that we had a barrier up here that was removed between the time of the pitch and now. We have an actual local software engineer that's going to help us deploy this content across your call centers in Greece. Yes, Casey?
The database is localized?
The database lives on local servers, but it is a shared server.
Got it. So regardless of where they're searching at, they can still access that main server?
Correct. So they can still access the main server. In addition, the hotline hub contains all information from all of the contact centers across Greece, and then they also deploy any relevant information for those people's locations. So there is multiple files that live on those local servers, so the search will work just fine. Phil?
I just wondered if you had sort of an estimate of how much time and effort this technology might save.
I mean, that's a great question, and we talked a little bit.
A lot of nods here.
Yeah. It's going to save a lot of time, right? It's an incredibly manual process. What we found was that they were going through about 7 different layers of files and documents to try and find a thing, and now this happens in seconds. So I would say that we reduce it by at least 75%. Perhaps more. Yeah. Should we question?
Yeah, my question is that how do you switch from this web browser, which is dedicated to a special database, to the general, to the default web browser? For example, if I want to search something on Google, which which is
Oh, it's,
how do you switch from this?
so it's not a default search engine. It's just going to be an app that's on the desktop, and you just open it up, and yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Awesome, great. So a quick intro to us, Theodora, Dale, Catherine, Marielle, and myself. We were working really closely with the Smile of the Child. We're so humbled and grateful for working with all of you. But one of the biggest things we realized while working with all of you is the power of storytelling. From Melissa to Solomon to even the story of Andreas, storytelling is very powerful. So with that, start with the story.
Sia answers a phone call and a child is crying, a small girl. All the child knows is to say, Farsi, Farsi. Sia tells the child, wait, please, wait. She wants to say, I'll be with you in a moment, but she doesn't know how. Sia puts the girl on hold. The crying girl becomes a flashing red light on the phone. Sia opens an Excel sheet with a list of interpreters, filters by availability, and then begins to call each one, line by line. The first interpreter doesn't pick up. She moves on to the second. No answer. Sia gets back to the girl saying the only thing she knows how. Please wait. It's only on the third that she connects with a live person. She then has to conference him in to make the connection. There have been 70 cases over the past 5 months that need Farsi or Arabic speakers. This problem isn't about scale, it's about whenever someone calls in, it's an emergency. With increased refugee engagement, call volume will rise. Every second counts. Such calls can take up to 12 minutes to connect. We want to reduce this to 2. Now we'll show you how.
Okay, the next thing is we're going to do a live demo of a system that we put together with a lot of help from IL. So bear with us, cross fingers. Nothing wrong is going to happen. So Sia needs to find an interpreter. She's logged into the system, and in this particular case, she's looking for a Farsi speaker. So, got the right one.
There are different flavors of Farsi, so depending, there's interpreters who speak different dialects.
We're searching globally, looking for a match, notifying all of the available helpers. We're notifying, making calls.
Von 001
It's calling me and it's calling him.
Hello, Dial Smile needs you. Please press 1 if you are available now.
It asks if I'm available, and I just said,
You will be called back right away. Could not get details for that session.
So now the system notified the operator that this volunteer is available, the phone number is available to dial for a conference call. There will be a tighter integration, but this will be a great first step. So there's no more looking through Excel spreadsheets and making multiple calls. So we next to.
We feel if you start engaging refugees, you're going to get much more volume and increase your need for volunteers with the skill set you need. We should be able to easily offset that with more volunteers. AdWord campaigns, social media, right? Nope. Because we're working with children at risk, we need to be a lot more careful with who we bring in to work with us. Smile the Child values quality much more than quantity. Not just anyone can talk a child back from the brink of suicide, even if you speak Arabic.
The current volunteer funnel looks a bit like this. It's very personalized, and it can take up to 1 month to recruit and have a new registered volunteer. We have identified 2 big bottlenecks in this process. One is the time it takes to get new volunteers, and the second one is the actual criteria that you need to be a volunteer. So we have thought of 2 different solutions for this problem. The one is a sign-up form on the website, and the second one is to work with trusted partners. So right now, for someone to become a volunteer, he can just go to the website of the Smile of the Child, and he will find a phone number and an email. What we did is we made an online form that will be part of the website, where a new volunteer can put basic information, language skills, his profession. He can upload certification, and he can also say if he has experience working with children. This form will allow the volunteering team to sort, filter, and select volunteers with higher priority, so they can contact those first and make them volunteers first. And another thing that we were thinking of is a second proposal that the medical department is already using is to work with trusted partners who already have volunteers that fit with, that have the right skill set, and those volunteers, they can go, they can enter this funnel in a much lower state and can be activated much more quickly.
Great, thank you. By working through SIA's workflow, these are just problems, right? From the helpline to the matching to connection, we wanted to break it down into like some core problems or core components. It's pretty much need, qualification, matching, and act. This is actually a common problem across many departments, much like the medical department. They need to find available doctors with certain specialties and in certain locations. We should be able to use the same technology and processes to scale our solutions across other departments. So for example, the online help sign up form, if you're a doctor, we want more information for you. If you're not a doctor, you don't see this information, but we should capture that information at the beginning of the funnel. Finally, integration is a big part of this. Smile the Child is currently in the process of deploying SoftOne CRM. We don't want to, I guess, break anything for you guys, so we're very committed to aligning things. And everything we build will be built with the purpose of integrating with your CRM eventually to allow you to create rich analysis and reports, track volunteer lifecycle, manage campaigns, and kind of get coverage. So like for SIA, if you have, you can find out which time zones are at risk, and for Soft Police, you can find out which areas need more doctors. In summary, the 4 things we wanted to kind of point out were we built connections, funnel, scale, and integrate. So connecting is about the app, funnel is about improving the pool of volunteers, scaling is making sure we don't reuse or we don't build everything from scratch, and integrate is CRM data.
Any questions? The data smile. Oh, they were so blown away.
Yeah, huge thank you to the Smile Child folks. Casey and then Phil. Casey?
Is the technology being like put together with the other products already done, or how is it all working together between your partner's technology and Smile the Child, and how's it all working together?
Sure, so Maya, do you want to take that? We built a web app, so it's pretty much a web page. We are going to be creating another data source, but we did spend some time with the person from SoftOne CRM, and they do have an API that would allow us to write an update to their CRM so that we are fully integrated. So that's how it works at a technical level. Phil? You also
in terms of the volunteer process, can you
Yes.
talk about sort of the very sort of nuances of differences between the different skill sets of the volunteers?
Yes.
Is this a single platform for all volunteers?
Yeah, ideally the sign-up form is something that's singular. It's just that, like, if you're a doctor, you fill out more information and we'll funnel that to the medical department. If you're not a doctor or you speak a different language, we want to know how skilled you are. Are you an interpreter? Are you native? So you'll answer certain questions based on your capabilities as a volunteer. But once that's in, it goes straight to Smile the Child. That does not mean they become a volunteer. The volunteer department still has to vet them, go through the interview process. We did not want to change that until they were comfortable. Cool. All right then.
Huge. Another big round of applause. I want to introduce to you the head of our international cooperation and programs, former Belgian ambassador Grace Mark van den Rijk, who will come and say a few words and also hand out some gifts to express very small tokens of appreciation to thank you so much for this amazing work that you did for us and the others. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I belong to a generation that is probably not as much in technology and information technology as all you guys are, but I must honestly say that I very much appreciate the work that has been done for us. Actually, all together, this group belongs to the family of the Smile the Child, combining heart and brain. It's very important to give proper solutions. And I would like to thank everybody, absolutely everybody who has been contributing, from Effect.org, from our own team in the Smile the Child, from the Orange Grove, the Dutch embassy that has been hosting this event. It is very, very important for us, and I am absolutely certain that the effectiveness of our action will be enhanced very, very much in practice by all these things that somehow still look theory but are very, very practical and will be very helpful to us. Thank you very, very much to all of you.
The results are in. They have been counted. They have been collected. Drum roll, please. Woo! Pi Data Mapper. Guys. If you guys would like to come up to the stage and take a picture with Smile the Child. And if any of you want to say anything, you totally can do. But no pressure.